There was a lady, Mary Flanagan. She used to live in Whyalla. She was a migrant from Scotland. They came out to Australia seeking work and a better life, I guess. And Mary was a very spiritual lady, and she had that beautiful gift of unconditional love and a great faith in God. And she heard from the Lord one day. He said, "I want you to build me a house of prayer and healing. It has to be on a hill where the slope goes down, and it's near running water. You will need water." That was emphasis, you will need water. So there is a creek going through, and in that creek further up there's a natural spring which doesn't run, but if you needed the water, it's there.
Got into the drugs and the alcohol and everything else, and wanted to straighten my life out a bit, so I found out about this place on a computer and rang them up, and they just happened to have a vacancy.
When her husband eventually died, Jack, he was a lovely man. He was a very spiritual man too. He said to Mary, I want you to go ahead with that house that God has asked you to build, you know.
My parents reckon it's the best thing I've ever done. Just was book myself into this place. Because at the moment the parents don't talk to me.
My sister rang me one day and said, "Come on over to the Berry, Knoll." She said, "You need healing and prayer, and come and meet Mary Flanagan."
So she went, she met a priest in Port Lincoln who she was talking to, and he said, "Well, Mary, you're sitting on the fence. If God has asked you to build him a house, you need to go looking for land, and you need to put some money in the bank." And Mary didn't have a penny to bless herself with, so how's this going to happen, you know?
I was in a coma, and I was just on the streets in Adelaide for a while, and on the streets in Melbourne, and I was just sick of that lifestyle, and I was come here to quit everything, and see if the parents change their mind about their son. Because I like my parents, I like saying hello to them and g'day, and but you can't do that anymore because they'll think that I'm a heroin head or something like that. But I'm trying to prove to them that I'm not by being here.
That was the beginning of coming to the Mary Knoll, and I met Mary, and you know, she prayed with me, and I felt better.
So she had a friend in Jennifer Modesta from Whyalla, and Jennifer heard in the middle of the night the word Beetaloo, and none of us had ever heard of Beetaloo Valley, even though we lived so close. I'd never heard of it, and neither did the others. So Jennifer said to her husband next morning at breakfast, "What does Beetaloo mean?" He said, "Why?" She said, "Well, I heard it in the middle of the night as clear as anything."
I do smoke a lot of pot, but I haven't smoked any pot in like probably 3 days. So I'm doing pretty good actually too.
And in the middle of it, Mary got up and she claimed this land for the Lord because she knew this piece of land was where God wanted the house to be built.
The reason why I came over was because I had a lot of stress in my life. I had my mother-in-law had heavy depression, and I looked after her over a period of 30 years.
Found this place is really good because you can't just go around the corner and score. You can't just go down to the bottle shop and get your alcohol.
What I consider as only miracles happened one after the other, you know. A few weeks later she was out at a function, and the Lord said to her, "I want you to have lunch with that lady over there." Mary knew the lady, and afterwards she asked her, would she like to come and have lunch one day, and she said, "Oh, that'd be lovely, we'll catch up, you know." And Mary was telling her what God was asking her to do, and she said, "Oh, I haven't got any money, Mary." She said, "No, I didn't mention money, I'm just telling you what God's asked me to do." But a few days later that woman was telling her husband, and her husband all welled up in tears because he had been prepared by the Lord to give all his money away, and he gave exact amount we needed to buy this piece of land, which is 42 acres, and it's in the middle of Beetaloo Valley. It's a lovely piece of land.
My daughter was raped at 16, and and then she drank, and so with all that, I had to look after her and nurse everybody, and I just became exhausted. You just lose yourself, and I thought, well, I did need help, and there didn't seem to be anywhere to go.
It's way away from everywhere, so that's why I like it as well. And Margaret's really good to speak to and drums a bit of sense into you.
So one of the men said to Mary, well, where do you think you're going to get the rest of the money from? And she had great faith, Mary. She said the Lord will provide.
I decided that this is the best place to come. Peaceful, quiet.
But yeah, I'm going to stay here as long as it takes to get dry and stop thinking about drugs all the time.
It's 11 o'clock at night, and Mary is saying, why don't you ring the agent now and say, would the owner take 1,000 down, because that's all we've got. And Noel's pointing out, it's 11 o'clock at night. And she said, yeah, but this is an after hours number. So she made him ring it. And the agent said he'd get back to her tomorrow, and which he did. And he said, I don't know about you, but you must have people in high places. And she said, yes, he just doesn't know how high. Because the owner said they could have it for 1,000 and the rest within 2 months. So he extended the time and lessened the money, the deposit. So that's how they got the land.
But they were healing times, sort of just being here. I mean, the kangaroos and...
It's not right in the middle of the town. It sounded like a city. And there's not every second store sells alcohol. There's not even a store around here.
And then she was invited to the Hayek's house for dinner in Adelaide. And Helen said to Mary, you don't know my husband, this is Morris, and you don't know what my husband does. He's architect builder. So he was the right man in the right place too. So after Mary had told him what God was planning, she said, she told him all about it, and he said, well, that's amazing. He said, because the Lord, I knew one day the Lord would ask me to build him a house. And so he offered to build a house, and he did it all for nothing. And he came up here every weekend for 18 months with his trailer and all these things he needed. And he's the father of 9 children. So there's an old saying, if you want anything done, ask somebody who's busy, they'll get it done for you. So in 2002 it was opened, and the first thing that went up on the property was the cross down there, just down in the land there, and that was sort of claiming God's power over the land. And the house was originally asked to be built as a house of prayer and healing, and I would like to see it become a real powerhouse of prayer, because if there's anything needed today in today's world is people who are prepared to pray and ask for the things we need. We don't have to look around us to see all the needs. We take everybody, no matter what need they have, and try to help them in the best way that we can. And our motto on our brochure is love one another as I have loved you. And I think love conquers everything. And if we love people, they feel that love, and then they open up and tell you their story, and you can help them,
just walking around looking at the garden, the hills, is very good. And I haven't been over here for 18 months because I have been taking care of my daughter and my mother-in-law.
It's still on medication and stuff like that, but it's helping me with my withdrawals from the drug abuse and the alcohol.
I had a lady here not long ago, and she had been through a terrible trauma, and she'd been sent here for 10 days, but she said on the second day, I don't think I could handle this place for 10 days. I said, why is that? She said, it's too quiet. I'm not used to quiet.
I've been down, depressed, I've had some terrible emotional trauma. You know, I've been angry because I used to try and get help from all sorts of areas, I'd say, even the church and everything, and no one would even come for a cup of tea. You just left, and I think a lot of people are. So when I came here, you got the lot. You know, you had Margaret, we'd go to church, people would invite you over for a cuppa. I'm not used to that. I've got neighbours where they're all lovely people, but they virtually had nothing, never even spoke to you for the first 25 years.
I find this place is helping a lot, even though she's got to go back to Adelaide tomorrow for 4 days. I've got to find somewhere else to go for 4 days tomorrow. I'm thinking Port Broughton, but I'm not allowed in Port Broughton, so that's where my sister lives. Yeah, so if I don't show my head around that often, I'm like, go walking down the street or whatever, I won't get busted, so that's the way it's going to go, I think. If not, you're going to have to camp around here somewhere.
People, everyone's got their story and they need to share it, you know, whether it's a good story or a sad story or a traumatic story, mostly trauma people have lived through and haven't shared it with anybody. So we take them in, we feed them and do our best to love them as Christ would have loved them, you know.
And we've been on the streets in Adelaide and it's been very cold at night time, but during the daytime it's very hot. So can't really win, but I'm on a good streak now and it feels like that I'm winning.
And coming here, I've found that the anger's gone. You know, it's lifted. I sort of feel a bit flatlined actually because I'm not depressed anymore.
And people have come back, so they must be doing something right.
Yeah, still think about it every single time, but yeah, medication has slowed me down from thinking about all the drugs and prostitutes and.
We have lots of people passing through every year, you know, people come and go. And
hey, I did help. I always came over and I was just there for whatever they wanted me to do, and I was happy to have a place to go for a little holiday and the rest. And of course I liked prayer. And we did pray a lot, you know, it's a prayer house. We did sit and pray a lot. We've got the church and we did pray.
Used to be in trouble with the police every week, and
on a yearly basis, so we'd have maybe 50 people a year, but that's approximately one every week, but we'd have groups of people. And
when I hear the stories of people's lives, I feel, you know, amazed. So I thought it makes you go home and think about your own life.
I wouldn't have touched a bong. I probably wouldn't have got into alcohol so much because I grew up in the mining town, Olympic Down, Roxby Downs. Alcohol was a sociable thing.
Groups of from the mental health department, you know, we had a lovely couple of years back. We had a lovely day on depression, and a lot of people came because depression is something that affects a lot of people.
Well, especially for mothers that need a bit of a break, that aren't looking after themselves and feel worn out, I do recommend that because they come over and they can sit down and talk. They don't have to talk. They can just stare out a window. But Margaret's always there, or other people. You get to know themselves a bit. You get to know yourself a bit here because it's quiet.
I'd be with the boys after work, and that's how I picked up the alcohol.
People that care are listening to you. It can make your life different.
Originally, when we were looking for someone to come and live here, we put it in a lot of the church notice sheets in Adelaide and in the immediate area.
I wouldn't have rode a motorbike so pissed out of my head.
Mary, of course, she got the message and she was the first person to come and live here, and she had a friend, Kath, who came and lived with her for a time. And then Mary suddenly died, which was really a shock to all of us. And I was the only other person living here.
I know about dementia. I know about deep depression from mother-in-law. People with anxiety, which I've suffered myself, trying to handle everything. I know all about fibromyalgia.
Just try every single drug under the sun just so I could sleep on the street.
Because I had lost my husband in 1999 and Mary had come to the funeral, and she came and had a coffee with me and she said, "Margaret, I feel you'll be up at Mary Knoll one day."
Yeah, I would have changed it. Not to hit so much alcohol and not to hit so much drugs, but they're all there within like a stone's throw distance away, and I had the money to get it all, and so I grabbed it.
I can always have empathy for other people. When they start talking to me, I understand where they're coming from, and I think they've got a long way to go. So this is the place for them.
And 4.5 years later, I had an extraordinary experience at Mass where I knew God was calling me to come to Mary Knoll, because I had just received the Eucharist and I came back to my seat and my head went voluntary up and looked at the overhead. You know how they pull the plastic thing off? And this girl was pulling off the sheet and there were 2 words left in the corner of it and it said, "Say yes." And I thought, oh, that's a bit... I know who that is. And I talked to a priest about it and he said, "Well, you know who that was, Margaret?" I said, "Yeah, I do."
Well, God's in control here. That's all there is to it. God's in control. And it is a spiritual place, and He is in control. And in a lot of places, psychologists, and I've rung and spoken to them and they've said to me, "How dare you have the impudence to ring me and tell me about your daughter?" And I thought, well, I hung up because I thought you were a very arrogant person that knows everything, well trained, knows it all, and you're not doing a very good job because I'm out here doing all the work. And I thought, how many go to these people and they know it all, they're well trained, I'll get A's for everything, but they really haven't got a clue what they're dealing with.
I was working in Roxby, like earning a mint, so I had nothing else to spend the money on, so I just went and bought all drugs and alcohol and prostitutes and stuff like that, and yeah, but now I learnt that what it's done to me now, I wouldn't have done any of that. I would have just kept it real like a normal person and saved it. And probably bought a boat and went fishing or something like that.
So the Lord told me to sell everything I owned and give it to the poor and come follow Him.
Many of my friends all on heroin, all alcohol, sell drugs, and all got habits and stuff like that, and they don't know where to go, and they don't have the willpower to go, I'm gonna go get myself helped. Whereas this would be a good place for them to come and stay and get help.
The real training, and the training in the field is being out with someone who's got borderline, being out with someone with bipolar, and having them come in and sit with them and talk with them and get to see them as a person and sort of think about what they can do for them. They're lacking terribly, and especially all the people, I will say this, it's nothing to do probably with the Mary Knoll, but you'll get cases come up here where young people might have been raped, but they might come up here with depression and they might not have spoken about it. They might be 78 years of age, they might have been 8 when they were raped. Now there's many people that have been raped in their young years and it's always bothered them. I've talked with them and nothing's ever done. It's just put under the carpet, police are terrible. When it comes to being raped, they treat you like something. What I've seen of people and how they treat you, everyone turns away from you. Women are the worst. They'll condemn, no compassion. And men just say, it's nothing. Women don't have any compassion, even mothers of children. It's just extraordinary, and I sometimes think if I had the ability, I'd get on the computer myself and say every single soul that's been raped in Ballarat alone, please come forward and show yourselves so that people can see how bad the situation is. Be interesting to see who comes forward.
I had lost my husband and I was on my own. All my children had left home. And I thought, well, this is what I'm going to do. So.
And I found this place what I needed, because the cities, no matter which detox and rehab I went to, always got kicked out of there, because there's always drugs there. Everyone in the detox and rehabs in the city was bringing in like pockets full of drugs, and the guards wouldn't even check them. They'd just like walk in, get rid of all the drugs and to all the people that are on detox and rehab, and yeah, that's how I got kicked out of half of them, because on the heroin too much.
Because I had 2 years of rape crisis counselling, they told me a lot of people are classed as mentally ill. Now we're talking boys and girls here. They are classed as mentally ill, but they're actually been molested in some way, molested or raped. And that's why then they're classed as mentally ill, because they act out that rape. And I'm just reading a book now, and I'm seeing the mother, how she's feeling guilty that her daughter was molested. And I thought, she doesn't need to. I felt guilty too when I found out that you haven't protected your child, because there was a lot more in the issues apart from that rape that went back from school days. And when I found certain things out, I was stunned. And I thought how ignorant I was. I was really ignorant. And I thought, this woman, when I'm reading the book, was feeling guilty. I've gone past guilt now, because I have worked so hard with my daughter that I've worked my guilt out. And I just feel terribly sad. I think to myself, what an injustice it is in this world. Terrible injustice. People can't get healed because nobody knows what they're healing. Because if the person doesn't tell or be totally honest in what they're saying, and they won't be honest because they don't trust the person they're talking to, psychiatrist, they don't trust them. And if you do come forward and tell, the police will condemn you anyway and treat you like a nutter, a real nutter. And that's why I was so angry for 10 years, when I saw how people just shut themselves, won't even come for a cup of tea, they just shut themselves off from you. They don't want to know, oh, your daughter's sick. And I thought, where's the compassion? Where's the love? We're Australia, we're meant to be Christians, we're meant to love God. Who's the Christian? I'm not seeing much of it. And because of that, I haven't been going to church. I admit it to Margaret, I haven't been going. I haven't gone to church. I only go occasionally. My husband goes, he's been an older boy since 5, and he's been going all his life. He won't miss a Sunday. But I haven't been going because I've been so angry, because I have seen such a lack of compassion, and I thought, I'm not going to sit in the church with people like that.
So I stayed, and I could see God working in me, totally healing me in a way, in my emotions, which I need a lot of healing of. And somebody said to me one day, you were living under Mary's shadow, and Mary's gone now, you're starting to blossom. And I could feel it happening within myself. The gifts that I've got naturally started to be getting used, and I started to get confidence, and I started to get that assuredness that you're doing the right thing, you know, and you're working for God, which is just unbelievably wonderful.
Getting all the pharmaceuticals, or every single doctor there is just give you what you want. You just have to say a few fake things to them, and they give you what you want, including morphine all the way through to oxycodone. Yeah, no, it was pretty insane.
I learned to drive, and I enrolled in a driving school, and that was a highlight of my life. When I got my lessons, when I got my licence, I rang all my family. I was that excited, especially at getting a reverse parallel parking. I didn't think I'd ever learn to do that, but it's amazing when you set your mind to something, you can do it. You know, it doesn't matter how hard or impossible it seems at the time, as long as you keep your mind set on the fact that, geez, you're going to do this.
But I haven't heard from Mum for a while. I'd like to hear from her, but I'm trying to get Dad to get my sister's number.
It is signed now, which is good. You know, I never appreciated Mary Knoll's sign so much as last night when David and I were out and we were going around in circles in the bush. I said, David, I've got no idea where I am, but I had an idea. You know how you're going the right way, but you're not quite sure. Then I looked up and I saw Mary Knoll.
So I can get back out in the mine and start working. And earn some proper cash. And make my family happy. Just show them, prove to them that I can do it. Because I always thought that I was always just a troublemaker drug taker.
We survive on donations. We trust in the Lord that He will provide. We have the board of trustees in Adelaide which look after the financial side. They have a list of people who give every year and give regularly, which is wonderful.
When I first came here, there was a priest in his 80s. And honestly, he nearly fell at the altar one Sunday, and he could hardly walk. And later I said to Mary, it was Mary, I said, oh gosh, I said, he's so sick. And she said, yes, but he refuses to leave the people. He will not leave the people. There's a true priest. He wouldn't leave the people, and his hips were going. He was really in a bad way until he just fell down and they had to take him to hospital. Do you remember that?
Father Fitz.
Beautiful. And
priest.
when I saw that, I thought, there's a true priest. And all the people praying the rosary every morning before church, and I wasn't used to that. And it's such a pretty little church that I felt I'd found God there, a little bit of God.
So I need somewhere to go tomorrow. But, I can't think of anywhere to go but my sister's house in Port Broughton, and I'm not allowed to go there. $10,000 fine and 2 years jail.
And we do trust in the Lord. People who come here to stay, we charge accommodation, because with the cost of everything today, you just have to have some sort of charges. But we keep them as low as we can, because it's the people who don't have a lot of money who sometimes need places like this to come, you know. And it is a house of respite. People can come here just to have a rest, to sort themselves out, or they can come for a little holiday, you know, enjoy the scenery and enjoy walking in the bush and that sort of thing. But we do have a small charge per night, you know, because we have to provide meals and all the costs of running a place like this.
I was in the brain unit in Hampstead Rehabilitation Centre after I woke up out of my coma. I woke up and said I was going to kill them all, and I didn't mean it at all. I was really sedated, and they rang the police on me, and I got locked up in Port Pirie cop shop, and my girlfriend gave me bail, gave me a fake address, and yeah, that's how I got out of that.
We would raise money for all the things we need in the house, you know, like the cupboards that are in the hallway. We had 2 old brown wardrobes there which we used till we got the new cupboards.
still breaking the rules, but 'cause I haven't told the court that I've come here. They still think I'm in Adelaide living at, I can't remember which suburb, but yeah, the judge still thinks I'm living there, but I reckon the judge would look at me if I say I'd come in here, they'd probably look at me and go, well done, hopefully don't go to no more jails today, because I've already done 4 years jail. And
we used to have raffles and things like that to raise money until we could afford to buy it, and that was a great help, you know.
I said something I didn't even mean, because I said a lot of things that...
One thing I have learned since I've come here is people's generosity. People are so generous. Even if they come to visit, they'll bring a bag of oranges or a cake they've just made and things like that. It all helps, you know.
So I would have took that one back, wouldn't have said anything over that if I knew I had known I was going to do this. But such is life, and then we're got to fix it back up again.
The building was designed by Morris Hayek, who built it, and we found after it was built it's in the shape of a cross. This is over there, and that goes down the centre, yeah. And that's lovely. And a lot of people donated everything that's in the house, like paintings and the fridges and the tables, and a lot of it was donated, yeah.
And I'm still at that age to do it, so I'm going to give it a go. Yeah.